welcome you to the Next Step Factory Built Housing Solutions webinar. I am Amy Barnard. I am the Vice President of Next Step Homes. Next Step, just a little bit about us. We are a national nonprofit whose mission is putting sustainable homeownership within reach of everyone while transforming the manufactured housing industry through consumer education, affordability, and energy efficiency. So again, thank you for joining. Just a quick agenda overview is we're going to talk about the history of factory built housing, kind of what makes these types of homes affordable, the benefits and financing options, and then we'll get into a little bit of some cases and just different examples of how this housing can be used. You should see a Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. For any questions that you may have throughout the webinar, we will take care of those at the end. If that does not work, please feel free to use the chat. So let's go ahead and dig right in. So we're going to talk about the history just a little bit. So this industry actually started in the travel trailer industry for camping or extended travel, not meant for permanent habitation. A little fun fact is that in 1906, Sears and Roebuck offered a mail order home that was the first version of a prefabricated home. So we're going to get into a definition. So I know that a lot of you have probably heard of mobile homes and trailers. We've heard those terms being used, and they're used kind of across the board when we're talking about factory built homes. But we're here to set the record straight that a mobile home and trailers, or the T word, these were homes that were built prior to 1976 and are not reflective of today's product. We hear these terms being used very loosely, whether it's on the news or in other capacities, but these mobile homes and these types of trailers are no longer being constructed. This is what today's factory built homes are looking like. So we have front porches, we have garages, we have drywall throughout, stainless steel appliances, hardwood flooring, very different from what the stigma of this type of housing is. So to talk about manufactured homes specifically, these homes are anything that was built after 1976, is a national standard, which is known as the HUD code. These homes are typically single-family residential dwelling units. They can be built as a single section or a multi-section, anywhere from about 500 square feet to I've seen as large as 3,000 square feet. These homes are heavily regulated and inspected at the factory by third parties. Something to note is that a manufactured home will be 80% complete when it leaves the factory, leaving about 20% to be completed on site that remains. And also I want to note another date. So we talk about 1976 and when the HUD code was implemented, but also there's 1994 when HUD revamped the energy code. So when we're talking about replacing homes, we generally use 1994, not just pre-76, as a yardstick for replacement. So modular homes, just consider this a site-built home that's basically built in a factory. That's kind of the quickest definition. Modular homes are built to the state or locally adopted building code, just like a site-built home. These homes are built in the same factories, same floor plans most times. They're built with the same materials, the same laborers. So there's not a whole lot of difference except the way that that home is put together. We see a lot more zoning opportunities with modular homes than we do manufactured, but there's really not a whole lot of difference just other than how that home is put together. Cost and zoning will actually be the drivers in determining which type of construction to purchase. I will say that a modular home does have a little bit more flexibility when it comes to customization. If a developer wants to leave the siding off of the home to do brick on site for the exterior finish, then we can do that. Maybe there's a custom flooring or a custom countertop that wants to be done on site. We can actually leave those elements out as well. So I just want to say that there's just a little bit more flexibility when we can customize with a modular. So something I do want to note, because they are gaining in popularity, is accessory dwelling units. So these, you may have heard the term ADUs, you may have heard even granny flats. These homes are on average about 600 to 1,200 square feet. They can be manufactured or modular. These homes can be single sections, they can be multi-sections, and they're transported to the site just like any other factory built home. We're seeing these types of housing, this type of housing being used as maybe placing an aging family member where they're close enough but still have their independence. But also we see homeowners that are installing these in their backyards for even rental income. So this slide, we're just going to spend a few moments on. This is a lot, but I think it's really good information and it kind of helps break down the differences in types of homes. So we're going to start with all four of these are built in factories. So all offsite construction, all factory built homes, but we're going to start with manufactured there on the far left. So the manufactured home, this column is the baseline of what a HUD code home is. So built to the HUD code, they can be built with an Energy Star minimum energy efficiency standard. We can see these usually placed on either a ground anchor foundation or even a permanent foundation. They're typically financed with a manufactured home financing option. But we also see a lot of limited zoning opportunities for these homes because municipalities typically will zone manufactured homes out. They are appraised to manufactured housing comps, and they do have those standard MH features and characteristics. They can be placed on owned land, but we also see this application done in like a manufactured housing community. Now we're going to jump over to modular. Modular, like I said earlier, it's basically a site-built home that's built in a factory. So we're going to have the state and local code. It's going to be built to a minimum of Energy Star, must be placed on a permanent foundation. It will be financed just like a site-built home with conventional financing. A lot of municipalities will accept modular before they'll accept manufactured. These can be appraised to manufactured homes, modular, site-built. They do also have the site-built features and characteristics and will be placed on owned land. So as I said, we had the manufactured home, which is the baseline of what manufactured housing is and what the HUD code is. So we're going to get into cross mod. So cross mod is an industry term. It is a HUD code home. However, it is placed on a permanent foundation and it will have conventional financing for manufactured housing specifically for this type of home. We have seen municipalities that will allow the cross mod home before they'll allow that typical manufactured home. The beauty of the financing options here for a cross mod is that when a home is being appraised, if there are no other cross mods in the area, a site-built home will have to be its comp. So that is a huge win for this type of home. As you can see, it does have site-built features and characteristics. We see the front porch, we see the garage, a higher roof pitch. These also have drywall throughout, and these will be placed on owned land. Then I want to jump over to the next step home. So next step, we pride ourselves on having the most robust set of standards in the industry. We don't specialize in manufactured or modular. We do both. One thing about our specifications is we require all electric. We require Energy Star version 3 as the minimum energy efficiency standard, but also we're partnered with manufacturers that have Department of Energy's Zero Energy Ready, which is what we would highly recommend if that option is available. We also encourage our homes to be placed on an FHA Title II engineered foundation, which will allow for different financing options other than the Choice Home and MH Advantage, just the manufactured housing permanent financing. Our homes will also be financed with FHA, USDA, and VA. Much like the cross mod, we see the zoning opportunities open up. We also see the appraisals. They can be appraised to site-built, modular, manufactured. Again, the site-built features and characteristics. And not only do we place homes on privately owned land, like the cross mod and modular, but we will also work with manufactured housing communities that are mission owned. So much like maybe a resident owned community. So what makes a factory built home affordable? So I want to say that a manufactured housing specifically is some of the largest source of unsubsidized housing stock in the United States. So a manufactured home or a factory built home is actually home to over 22 million Americans. And we see that this type of housing is 8 to 12% of all housing starts. The incomes of those living in manufactured homes are about half of what those are of living in site-built homes. So I know that the big question I always get when we talk about this is how much do they cost? Well, I can't give you a firm number because I know that everybody on this webinar is everywhere. We're all over the place, and that does play a factor into the cost. But I do want to say that cross mod home, and this even plays in for a next step home. Cross mod homes, home only, out of the factory, will run on average $70 to $80 a square foot. Modular homes, I'll be honest, we don't see a whole lot of savings on the cost of the home because they are built to the site built code. They do have to be craned in. But what we do see is time savings, and we all know that time is money. So once efficiencies are in place, placing any factory built home is a fraction of what it takes to build a site built home. So you're able to do more production, you're able to turn those homes faster and get people moving into them and, basically getting those homes sold quicker. So I do want to shout out our website, which is nextstepus.org. We do have a total home calculator that is available. It's not going to give specifics, but it will give you a variety of costs based on region and different characteristics of that home. And I do want to say that in all of the years that Next Step has been around, our rule of thumb is it's how much these homes cost. It's the cost of a home times 2 plus the cost of land. So for example, a $100,000 home out of the factory, roughly going to be about $100,000 to put in all the infrastructure, to put in the foundation, install that home, and get it completed on the interior and exterior, and get the keys handed over, plus the cost of land. So your lot cost could be anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000. So we'll see that number will vary, but you're going to be around that maybe $200,000 to $250,000 range. So again, rule of thumb, cost of the home times 2 plus land. So let's talk about some of the advantages of what factory built homes are. So there are many advantages, obviously, to factory built. Our costs are very predictable. These homes, once they're in production, there's no changing them. So unlike site built where there's change orders, the factory goes over in detail what is all to be in that home, all the options, the colors. So once that home goes online, that is what you're going to expect to pay for when that home comes out of that factory. Our manufacturers actually purchase materials in bulk. The savings from that is passed down to the consumers. I had mentioned, shorter construction timelines. It only takes about 2 weeks to build a home from start to finish at the factory. Production backlogs obviously will play into how long that home will actually take. But typically we see 6 to 8 weeks is from the time of order to the time that home arrives on site. And once a developer has their efficiencies in place, we can have a home done in 30 to 45 days. All of these homes are built indoors. We don't have any weather delays. So if it's snowing, if it's raining, construction doesn't stop because everything is built indoors. All of the materials are built indoors, or are stored indoors, I'm sorry. And we also see that these homes are about, on average, about half the cost of what a site-built home is. And again, that varies by market. So continuing with other advantages, these homes are also a greener option. If you've ever driven by a site-built home being constructed, I'm sure you've seen the dumpsters. I'm sure you've seen the pile of lumber that is just going to waste and probably going to a landfill. Factory-built homes have reduced waste. You can put the waste of one home into a single trash can, a 96-gallon trash can. All of the lumber can be reused in other applications and other homes. So we definitely see that. Manufacturers are building with the latest version of Energy Star, more energy efficiency features. Again, I mentioned that there are some manufacturers that are building to the Department of Energy's Zero Energy Ready. We all know about that hidden mortgage, which is our utility cost. So any way that we can increase energy efficiency and bring down that monthly cost for the homeowners is key. We also see in these homes that we have low flow shower heads, faucets, low VOC paints, again, using recycled materials and even using LED light bulbs. So there have been advancements in manufactured home building technology, and federal regulations do require that manufactured homes are built to comply with a construction code that considers the wind safety and the snow loads based on the region and the location of where that home is going. I do like to joke, and I know I say this a lot when I talk to people who are new to this space, is that have you ever seen a site-built home going 70 mph down the interstate? The answer is no. So you know that these homes have already been wind tested when they leave the factory, getting to the location that this place. Homes are built and inspected to meet federal and regional standards for hurricane force winds, fire, snow, and other natural disasters. So how do we finance these homes? So here we're going to primarily talk about manufactured homes because, as I've said before, modular homes are basically like a site-built home just built in a factory. So they have conventional financing. When we do manufactured homes, we can finance them as a mortgage with land home, or we can do chattel, which is like personal property. Chattel is more so used when we have someone who purchases a home but does not own the land. So whether that's a home being placed on family land or a home being placed in a manufactured home community, that is where the chattel loan would come in. So the GSEs, as part of their duty to serve requirements, have lending products that are designed for manufactured housing that are on par with site-built. I said before that both Freddie Mac's Choice Home and Fannie Mae's MH Advantage, they must comp to a site-built home if there is not a cross-mod available. And both of the GSEs will offer training to appraisers on factory-built housing because we see that's where a lot of educating needs to be done, is at the appraisal level. Digging into the Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae lending products, this type of financing allows manufactured housing to become a solid option for home buyers. These lending products have low interest rates with a smaller down payment. Choice Home and MH Advantage are designed for HUD code homes with features and energy efficiency standards that are similar to site-built. These homes will have a label in that home certifying this home was built to those standards that will allow for future financing. And I do want to note that with a cross-mod home and these two lending products, that we've seen that developers, it works better with using a developer rather than purchasing a home through a typical manufactured housing retailer. We're trying to bring them up to speed. So as our little slide says, the industry needs to catch up. So now we're just going to get into a few examples and some different cases of how a factory-built home can be used. One is the beauty of a manufactured home is putting it on a permanent foundation and providing good mortgages to buyers who thought homeownership may be out of reach. So we are able to provide affordable homes in areas for buyers that maybe want to live in the communities that they work. We're seeing an uptick of manufactured homes specifically being placed on urban lots. So the Brookings Institute surveyed municipalities up to 15% of vacant land in those areas. Vacant lots generate little to no tax revenue, and they are often blighted. They bring blight to the neighborhood. They collect trash, even crime. So bringing in brand new homes will increase the vibrancy of the neighborhoods and will allow those home buyers to live in the communities that they possibly work. So here's an example of infill. This was done by one of our developer partners in Southern California. San Bernardino has a lot of infill lots that need to be developed. So our developer partner purchased cross mods and placed them on these vacant lots. As you can see, we've got an aerial shot where the garage is in the back. There's two different floor plans here. Both of these have porches and are set low to the ground. Here's another application of the cross mod. This is actually a brand new subdivision development that's in Hagerstown, Maryland, which is about an hour outside of Washington, D.C. This is a 231 unit cross mod development. As you can see, higher roof pitches, the drywall throughout, front porches. A lot of these homes were 3 or 4 bedrooms and even had a back porch built onto them. So this subdivision, I think, was about 50 units, and this is actually where Next Step got its start. These were all manufactured homes done by a small nonprofit in Eastern Kentucky. As you can see, the front porches, even the carports. And again, these homes are probably about 15 to 20 years old. And again, this is where Next Step got its start. And then here is a subdivision application here in Knoxville, Tennessee. This was actually done by Clayton, since Clayton is headquartered here in East Tennessee. These homes, this subdivision was unique in the way that it had manufactured, modular, and even entry-level site-built homes. In comparing the manufactured homes, which you see on your screen, there's garages, we've got front porches, but looking at these homes versus the entry-level site-built, there were many more amenities in the manufactured homes than we found in the site built. So in these particular homes, we had 96-inch showers, we had hard surface flooring throughout, higher roof pitches, open concept floor plans. And something else to think about is that you're getting more bang for your buck, even going factory built versus entry level site built, just because of some of the amenities and options that we can put in these homes. All right, so this wraps up the presentation portion. Thank you for your patience. I know that there's maybe some questions coming in, but I do want to say, Next Step, this is what we do. We educate and want to be an advocate for factory-built housing. While Destiny's teeing up any questions that we may have, I do want to say that if there are a need, if you have any questions or have projects, Next Step does a lot of consulting around the construction and pre-development phase projects. We even have homeownership counseling and education services and even policy work around zoning if there's anything that you have a need for. And I'm going to flip to the next slide where my contact information is while we start answering some questions. So, Destiny?
All right. We have a few questions. The first one comes from the chat. Have you used ground screws to anchor the modular versus standard foundations?
I have not seen that application. There may be some developers that have. That would be something we'd have to research. But I personally have not, no.
All right. Switching over to the Q&A box. What are some income requirements to qualify for one of those homes in Hagerstown?
I know that they are market rate. I think there are some income restrictions. There's a handful of homes set aside for that. I can get you in contact with Kelly on our team that would be able to help you with that.
Next, is there a minimum square footage?
A HUD code home will have to be a minimum of, I think it's 500 square feet. As far as that, we can go all the way up. Like I said, I've seen up to 3,000 square feet, triple wide, like 3-section homes. There's really no square footage cap, I guess.
How do developers finance their development costs?
It's construction financing. Next Step, we've been able to work with some developers where we've possibly been able to bring some capital. It just depends on the project, but typically it's construction financing, just like you would if it was any other project that you were doing.
Next, are these considered modular homes? I recently was awarded a few million through the price grant, but it has to be a modular home. The idea is to build a new elderly complex that is as close to net zero as I can.
So there's a difference between modular and manufactured. Manufactured is built to the HUD code. Modular is built to the state and local code, like a site-built home. I think price is based on manufactured, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, there is a difference in the two. So make sure that your language is right. And we can get I know that if you do build a home with the Department of and Department of Energy Zero Energy Ready standard. Those homes are solar ready, and and we've seen significant savings in the houses that they've tested so far. So I would love to talk more about this offline if you would like to reach out.
Right. Next, it looks like this person's referring to one of the communities at the end. They're wanting to know, where is the Answerson community located?
Which one?
Answerson or Anderson, one of these.
I don't know.
Not sure. All right, we'll go to the next. As a developer, if we have a relationship with a manufacturer of heat pumps, could a manufacturer like Clayton purchase the mechanicals through that relationship, or would we have to use Clayton suppliers?
I believe you would have to use Clayton suppliers. It's worth a question, depending on the volume. Let's say that may be that's a great conversation to have with one of the factories. I know that they all have their suppliers. They all have contracts with those suppliers. So it would just be a matter of maybe having that conversation and, how many homes you planned on doing.
Are basements allowed with these homes or slabs only?
So these homes are actually built on a crawl space in most cases. We have seen them done on basements. Um, it's easier to do a basement on a modular home versus the manufactured, because the manufactured does have a steel chassis and I-beams underneath it. So it's a little bit more complicated, but it can be done. But there is a crawl space under these homes.
Are Next Step homes available in Nebraska?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Um, so this here, not sure if you knew, but local assistance programs such as CPLP are allowed to help folks purchase a new construction factory-built home locally in Wake County, North Carolina. Does your organization allow this participation?
I do not know the answer to that, but Kelly on our staff, she does work with local areas, local municipalities to determine any kind of funding that would assist buyers in purchasing new homes. Would love to chat more about this. So yeah, please reach out.
All right, switching over to the chat. I have a project in Michigan for 10 modular homes, townhouses, I'm sorry. What manufacturers do you use or recommend in the area?
So townhomes are considered more multifamily, and right now we use the big three across the country, and I don't know any of them that are currently building multifamily right now. There may be a factory or two that may be willing to look at doing that project, but that multifamily it's not a common thing among the typical, like the big three. There may be some niche manufacturers that I may not know about that are into doing townhome or multifamily type construction. But I know that our partnerships that we have, none of them right now are currently building multifamily.
And who are the big three?
The big three is Cavco Industries. We have Skyline Champion, and then Clayton Homes. And then we also work with some regionals, but they're just, maybe in Alabama, and they serve just a handful of states. So.
All right, that is all the questions. Yep, so far, no more questions coming in.
All right. Well, again, thank you all for joining. We apologize for the technical difficulties at the beginning, but we're figuring this out, and I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope there was something that you all took away from it. Please feel free. My email address is on the screen. You can also reach out to Destiny. She's the one that sent out the information earlier, but please reach out if you have any questions. And again, thank you so much.